right. Well, we are excited to be talking today. This is kind of a last-minute blab here that we kind of threw together, right, Steve? How to be a Christian advocate for unreached people groups. I think it's because we're both passionate about this, obviously. And so that's why we just came up with this real quick and not a lot of effort into it. That is questions and all these things, but we are hoping that people are going to join, call in. I know Pastor Johnston is here, and he's getting ready to head to China pretty soon to work with Unreached Global. So on that note, my name is David Joannis. I'm the founder and president of Unreached Global. It's a nonprofit Christian organization that is doing missions work, reaching unreached people groups in the 1040 window, specifically in China. There's the link there with unreachedglobal.org. And I also, by the way, blog at davidjoannis.com, kind of a compilation of mission stories for the last 20 years of being on the missionary venture. And so because of that, Steve Shermer here from Silk Road Catalyst and I were thinking, how can we help people, inspire people, or give them some practical tips to become an advocate for unreached people groups? And Steve will introduce himself as well, I'm sure.
Yeah, so I'm the president of Silk Road Catalyst. I think, judging from the looks of who's on, most of you have heard who we are. I only see one person I'm not familiar with. But we work with unreached peoples, but we approach it through primarily through a means of tent making and businesses missions would be our primary avenue. It's not our only avenue, but it's our primary source, or the one we challenge people to go toward.
Yeah.
And so you can actually learn a little bit about the Silk Road, not just Silk Road Catalyst, but Silk Road itself on our website. And also you'll find a link to a blab that I did with David, the first one I did with him about the Silk Road and just what it means in business and just things like that, and how it transitions back to ministry.
Yeah.
So, so I'll just let y'all go over there and look at all that good stuff, and then we'll just start talking about advocating.
Yeah, you just updated your website, right? silkroadcatalyst.com?
We did this morning. There's still some glitches or some tweaks I have to do, but it's, I think, far better than what it was.
Good. I haven't even checked it out because you just did it this morning.
Don't tell me how bad it is.
We'll leave that to private messages. No, but definitely go check out Steve. By the way, follow us on Blab here. We often do these. We co-host these missions blabs, and I think there's been some really exciting ones. Steve's got one big issue. Got to get new earphones. And microphone.
I do. These actually hurt my ear after we spent an hour and a half on here.
We're not going to go that long today, but let me give you a little background about Steve's and my thinking here. Why are we talking about being an advocate for unreached people groups? First of all, what in the world is an unreached people group? I guess what we're talking about, I just got off the phone. It looks like Mike Falkenstein is here as well. Just got off the phone and we were talking about this. Unreached people groups, hey, Mike, are not, we're talking about the definition as proposed by, say, JoshuaProject.net, Issachar Initiative, the Lausanne Movement, that we're talking about ethno-linguistic peoples with little to no access to the gospel. I'm not talking about someone in your own zip code or a coffee connoisseur or computer hacker. Okay, that's not how we're categorizing unreached people groups today. We're talking about people, ethno-linguistic tribes, and who have never heard the name of Jesus, have little to no access to the gospel. So why are we talking about becoming an advocate for them? Because I do believe we're called to fulfill the Great Commission. In fact, we have a great upcoming blab with Mike on here. If you get a chance, Mike, put a link up to that and people could follow that. Maybe that'll create some more buzz. Anyway, all that to say, how can we inspire people to get involved in missions and fulfilling the Great Commission in the 1040 window? Steve's in my heart.
I agree. What am I supposed to say after that?
Well, I don't know. I agree. Props would have been nice. James gave them to me for it.
I give you enough props. Oh.
Yeah. Well, hey, good to see you guys on here though. And
I will add this. If any of you have watched our previous blabs, the best ones we've had have been very interactive.
Yeah.
So we're heavily dependent on you guys.
Yeah, call in if you have similar thoughts. But let me just share something that we've done at Within Reach Global. We're always trying new things among our vision partners. Let's just say this. Okay, yeah, Mike just posted the link. Upcoming is the Great Commission, a command for all Christians. Make sure you check out that upcoming blab. We're going to be on there. But so what we try to do at Within Reach Global is try to think of a lot of creative ideas for how to get people to practically be an advocate. One cool new thing that we've done is come up with a term. We call it, what do we call it? We had a term for it. I can't recall what we call it, but it's basically where someone would invite a bunch of friends over, have people over to their house over a meal, and become an advocacy group. That in Thailand or China or wherever I am, I would give a quick update. Maybe I'm walking through a village and I'm sharing on my phone live during this is basically a potluck dinner or something like that. And then they would show a video. We have a whole structure of what they should do. Pass out our brochures, give a few testimonies. Most likely this would be done at someone's house. For example, James, who's on here today, been to China, been interrogated with me for 6 hours on the China-Vietnam border. And he would invite his friends over and say, look, I went on this trip. This was something super exciting that I believe in. We've got to get rallied people behind it. And then even have a time of prayer for the unreached and try to help inspire people, in our case, to become monthly prayer and financial support group vision partners. So they would not only give financially, but be invested emotionally and spiritually. So that's one of the things we have in the mix, and we're trying to inspire our vision partners to set up.
Yeah, that's actually a good reminder, because I have someone who's been who said they were going to do that, something similar for us. So I just messaged him to remind him.
I missed the last part. I cut out there. It's my internet though.
Oh, okay. Anyways, we're gonna be doing something very similar. Okay. Something we've done already is the small group type stuff.
Yes,
and it's really great just to see the closeness or the intimate feel you have just being able to share, because large gatherings, while they're necessary at times, doesn't have the same feel as a small group. In fact, one group I spoke at, it actually challenged a missionary going to the field to move in a certain way that I wasn't anticipating in launching a new business over in Europe, which was pretty cool to see how all that came together just by having one of these small group things where I was talking about Silk Road Catalyst.
Yeah. I like that you mentioned the big church. I've been on this journey recently, specifically after reading The God Ask by Steve Shadrach, and shifting necessarily from the bigger churches to smaller groups, individuals. Man, when I was here in the States, I live in Thailand, been ministering in China for 17 years. But as I was here last month, about 2 months ago, I went on a 12-day trip here and went from city to city to city, from Arizona, Texas to South California, and met with probably over 75 people face to face, asking them to join our monthly prayer and financial support team. I mean, every 2 hours, I was basically going from one place to another, meeting people all on the coast. I also agree that, yeah, you got that intimate connection, especially when food is involved, right, Steve? Actually, James, you were there at Mark's house. He's an advisor for Within Reach Global. On this particular night, it's always nice, I think, by the way, if you're going to learn how to be an advocate for Unreached, have a third voice, a third person who's there to speak on behalf of, say, Silk Road Catalyst or Within Reach Global. Mark, our advisor, got up, and instead of me saying, please, we need money, we need to help these orphans, he got up and say, we need to get behind this. And I want you to take 10 minutes, pray with your wife. And then I have the iPad here. You could sign up and start giving your first donation this month. For me, I wouldn't have approached it that way because I can't do that necessarily with a third person. James could for me. I could for you, Steve. it'd be much easier to say, hey, guys, get behind Silk Road Catalyst. Start giving $50 a month. Easy for me to say that. So I like that small group setting. It's a great place. But what are some of your experiences in becoming or seeing people be advocates?
Well, when I came back from China 2 years ago, one thing I started seeing, just our missions pastor here, we were never from South Carolina. So when we came here, everything was new to us. Our church was new. We just knew some of the leadership, and that was it, because we met them over there. And that's how we ended up here.
Okay.
And so the missions pastor had us go around speaking to different small groups in the church, which led to a lot of conversations. And then just going from, conferences and things around the U.S. One thing I came away with after the first year is talking about the Unreached has been around for a couple of decades. It's not, I mean, if we're honest, it's not new, but it's becoming background noise to most people in the pews. Now, there's always someone that you come across that had never heard what we're talking about, probably because they're young believers or something. But if they've been around for any length of time, they've heard the words, they know the mantra, and I mean, that's how we get into conversations about going to Boston to work with unreached peoples who look just like you and me.
Yeah, exactly. Which is, again, the facetious side, I think, of what Steve is saying.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I can get into that.
Well, hey, I'm with you. People, there's a misconception because of definitions, again, about what an unreached people group. We're not talking about people who are not Christians. We're talking about people with little to no access.
Yep. And so one of the things what I came away with was there has to be some way to communicate this to the larger body, especially to those who have heard it over and over. And there's got to be, I don't think conferences are doing it that well anymore. It's usually the people who know it, who know about it, who are passionate about it like us, who end up going to those conferences, if we do. But there's got to be a way to connect with people in the pews who aren't going to be at those conferences. And I think the small groups is great. I think that if you can get those open doors, but even working through there, trying to find people in those churches that we connect with to be our advocate, to be the voice among their own members, because there's, like I'm only one person, so I can't be in every church at every Sunday. So I've got to get voices out there, and I've got to get people talking about it. There's got to be ways to get them in.
I've found that through my website and blog, it's been a really exciting way to be able to engage people. Obviously, you're a little bit unsure who's reading and what the engagement actually is, but I think also this missions blab, it's again constant reminder. I don't think people need to move overseas. You don't have to take a slow boat to China to become an advocate for unreached people groups. But there are things that you can do to talk about it, inspire other people. Let's say you're a writer. Start writing about some experience you've had in the 1040 window among unreached people groups. Again, the 1040 window, we all know what that is, I hope. Everyone here looks like it does. There's someone viewing from your browser, by the way. If you haven't signed into Blab, you'll be unable to engage with us. So you sign in to Blab with your Twitter account. Come back in, refresh. You'll be able to see and engage, talk, call in. But if you're a writer, you can write about some stories of the unreached. If you are a businessman, you could say, hey, we're going to start matching donations 2-to-1. Every single time someone gives a donation up to X amount of dollars, we'll match that. And that's a great way to become an advocate. What are you guys' thoughts? Anyone else want to jump in here? I know Mike is biting at the.
I don't think
chomping at the bit.
Going, shy.
Mike's not shy. James, the most epic beard on Blab, perhaps. No, I'm just joking. If I advocate, oh, sorry,
here they come.
Yeah, okay. Whoa, oh, here they come in. Oh, both at the same time. Good. Oh, look at that beard.
That thing is getting long. What's up, guys?
James, introduce yourself a little bit, could you?
My name's James Johnston. I'm a pastor at Liberty Church, and I work with junior high. But recently, in the past 7 months ago now, I went to China, and God just birthed a desire to come back to China and serve the Unreached, and a lot of it's been from what you, David, and just listening to these blabs and stuff like that has been really inspiring, just and cool. Encouraging. But yeah.
So you're saying these actually work? Because sometimes Steve and I look at each other thinking, is anyone listening? Do they care?
It definitely has worked for us, but I mean, it did help. I mean, we did come and catch caught the fire and the vision and stuff, but it doesn't always have to happen like that because not everybody's going to go. That's understandably, but then being able to clearly communicate the vision for it. That's something why I jumped on now is because, the challenges that I have in getting people on board and encouraging people and supporting us, and whether prayer or financial. I mean, I even find I put posts on Facebook and I asked my mom, she said she liked it. And I said, did you read it? And she said, no, I didn't read it. Let me go back and read it. I'm like, but you liked it, So, I mean, you get people like that where it's like they just go on and and so there has to be some creative ways to get out there and make people aware.
By the way, I love your new website. What is it? Pastor James Johnston? Is that what it is?
James Johnston, PastorJamesJohnston.org.
Okay, .org. JOHS Johnston. I'll send that out for you since it looks like you're on your phone here.
Yeah, I am. One of the ways I will say, just in general, and I don't know if it's going to work or not, but it's been on my heart as a designer, a graphic designer, is that I created a shirt. It says all in on the front of it, and you can check it out on the website. And under it, it says taking the gospel to the unreached. So, being able to be able to wear stuff like that, visually, mainly because, I enjoy graphics and stuff. So I enjoy doing those things and pulling my creativity to advocate. But what are some other ways? I know you guys mentioned about potlucks and stuff like that. What are some other ways to be able to really bring people on board and advocate for the unreached?
You got some thoughts on that, Mike? I mean, you've been doing this a long time too, right?
That's right. Yeah, I'm trying to think what I could add to the conversation, but working with a people group, I don't know if the Han Chinese would be considered. They're certainly engaged, so they're not unengaged, and there are a lot of unreached, obviously, but
because there's a billion of them.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Yeah, I like what you said about the potlucks. Obviously, that's a neat way to maybe use some of the modern. I mean, for you to be able to communicate it in essentially real time, where you're at. That's an exciting deal. So,
sorry, Steve, if I keep cutting you off. I have a little bit poor internet, so I can't see everyone too well. But can you hear me okay?
Yeah, we can hear you just fine.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I was going to say another way I think would be great, perhaps specifically for James, who's on his way to China, finding someone who is passionate about social media. Not everybody wants to be tweeting, posting on Facebook every single day, scheduling posts out. But if you could find some young kid, I'll just make a generalization about the demographic here. Can't get off Twitter, can't get off Facebook, harness their passion for that and say, look, I need you to donate 1 hour a month. Schedule out 1 month of posts on our Facebook page. You could schedule them out for months in advance. I think this is a great way of having a constant flow. James, you should do this on your page. Have a constant flow. Like, it could just be generic stuff. The unreached are this, informing people about the 1040 window, etc. and have someone who's committed long-term to be posting regularly for you. Again, I think that's a great way to have not only be an advocate, but help other people use their gifts to become an advocate, right?
That's good.
You should have someone in place before you go to China that you could say, hey, this is my social media person, and he'll update. Basically, they're just copying sound bits or text bits from your website, pasting them into social media, you know?
Yeah, no, that's good, because I know that I've started with putting a small team together and saying, hey, you know, where we're going to start talking about what can we do, because I like what you were talking about, having a third party, so bringing them involved, so it doesn't sound like you know, it's just me and it's just my idea, but there's others that are a part of this also. No, that's good. And the tweeting and the social media.
No, I think it's obvious. If Steve and I had someone who was posting all the time for us, can you imagine how it would propel our organizations?
I'm actually going to talk to someone soon about that. I hope.
We should do that. That's a great way of being an advocate. I'm talking to myself here as well. I've had people come in and out and non-committal. That's been one of the issues. But you can actually also, if you were to get in a habit, you can schedule out 2 months in advance. Basically, you're just pushing people back to your website, little quotes from missionaries, ways to be involved, plugging your website. Every single day, twice a day, it pops up in the morning and at night on Facebook, on Twitter. You schedule it all out. It's super easy with Hootsuite, with what's the other one? It's not coming to me right now, but Hootsuite's a great one for posting stuff like that. James,
I was going to piggyback off his T-shirt comments.
Oh,
a little bit squeaking in my background. You know, there's a guy here near where I live. They started a ministry called Bethany Are Not Bethany House. Hold on, I want to get the right name. Benjamin House. And they're launching in Uganda, working with orphans and also doing pastoral training. And he got into that. He adopted from there, and it's kind of a long history of why he is going there full time now. But he hasn't even launched. I mean, you could say in a launch, he's got a website. They're raising money. They've got a plan, but they're like you. They haven't arrived yet in Uganda. And so one of the things they did was they got a T-shirt made, and their goal was to have people wearing it in all 50 states. Posted all over Facebook, all over Twitter, highlighting it, trying to challenge people. That gets people excited. I know he's done other things in that, but when they did a banquet a couple of months ago, their very first banquet, they had over 600 people show up to a banquet, which is unheard of when you're launching a new ministry. And they had over 400 people online watching it live being streamed.
Wow.
And they just did. I don't know all they did, and I doubt the T-shirt thing did it all, but that did catch my attention at least. It got me to follow them a little bit more for a period of time, anyways, of just watching them. Which state hasn't been touched yet? Who's going to get there, kind of thing. And it just gets people intrigued. It keeps it in front of them. They're always thinking about it. And that's really the key. It's got to be on their mind all the time.
Yeah. I know that I've
challenge.
Justin Finkelstein, he actually is a chef. And we've been talking about actually doing like a little banquet or a meal, and just putting a shout out to as many people, either and just inviting as many people to come out to be able to watch a few videos and stuff like that, and be able to share our heart and to be able to rally some folks around the vision as far as for prayer support, financial support, and stuff like that. So we've been thinking of putting some stuff like that together.
I like that idea. A couple suggestions I would add to that is always make sure you've got somewhere for people to sign up with their name, address, email address, that is. You add them to your newsletter or weekly newsletter on Tiny Letter. Make sure you have that available. Make sure they follow you. Plug heavily your Twitter, your Facebook page, whatever it is. Maybe Justin, the chef, could create a meal that's called the Unreached or something, and it kind of has description in the way it's set up. The meal, cherry tomatoes here, and there's 2 missionary, whatever it's called. It could be called, the plate is called the Unreached or something. And every time somebody buys it, purchases it, they would be reminded. Get a magnet sticker, or what do you call it? Look at this. I just went to my public library. It's just a public library business card, but it's a magnet. Obviously, we all need to have these. If someone sticks this on your refrigerator, they're not going to take it off for the next 365 days.
You should see my refrigerator.
No, that's cool because my wife's uncle actually owns a promotional company where they do pins, bracelets, shirts, magnets, and all kinds of stuff. And so I've been talking with him and seeing what part he could be a part of in providing some of that, and stuff. So it's with Unreached on it, or on the magnets, or with our image, or with different things that we're going, or even books, because I like the book that you had put out on the history of you being in China, David, not too long ago, I believe, just sharing your story and just having lots of photos and text and stuff in it and stuff. So, things like that, to have people, because it's in their home when they pass it, they see it, they pass their fridge, they see it. It's just a friendly reminder, hey, we're out there, hold the ropes.
Yeah, I like that. I also like, Steve, what you were saying. If we could simply find some of these people who are very gifted in marketing, and have them jump on board to advocate, it'd be a powerful thing, because we are focused on ministry and we kind of tend to forget about the marketing side of things, right? Very, very important. Here's the China Years book. That
I was actually talking to someone about that yesterday. Because I'm not a marketing guy. I'm not that kind of guru, but
I think that's like what you were talking about, getting beyond your sphere of influence, right? Yes, it's effective, and I don't think we're making the ask enough. We're not making that ask enough. We need to talk about specifically saying, hey, I've known you for 20 years, 30 years. Would you jump on my team every month and join the Monthly Parents Financial Support Team? So
that's funny you said that, because at church this past Sunday, they know that I'm going to China. They're praying and different things, but they haven't heard about the website. And I said, well, you know what? Here's my computer. Here's my phone. Sign up and subscribe, so you can get a monthly newsletter, so I can share videos and share blogs and stuff. And so and I actually challenged, I said, you know what, carry your phone, have it ready, and sign up as many people. And you know what, I may even have, a gift for you, or a magnet or something for you. So that way, me saying thanks for putting that out there and advocating for us. So I guess I'm doing it a little bit, but not maybe on the scale that I would like. But I'm sometimes reaching in the dark, trying to figure some of this out. I'm around branding and stuff with graphic designing and other stuff, but then at the same time, it's like doing it yourself, for you and for the Unreached, But I'm going to have to jump off here, guys. It's been really awesome being able to hear the feedback. I want to, so whatever you guys talk about, as far as posts or ideas, just text them on here so I can go back and watch it and stuff. So
shall do.
All right, David.
Awesome.
Steve.
Okay, James. We'll see you.
Good to see you again, James. We have a guy in Malaysia. And he wrote me the other day and said he's been talking a lot about Silk Road Catalyst in his network. He didn't even know this, but through a series of conversations he had, which led to other people having conversations, we actually got someone contacting us about wanting to serve.
Very cool. Okay.
And I think it goes good with this question, because some people I talk to, when I talk about doing small groups, either like coffee or, whatever inside their house.
Yeah.
The thing I hear most of the time is, I don't know anyone.
Yeah.
I don't have enough contacts. I think in their mind, what they're thinking is, I don't have enough rich contacts.
Yeah, exactly.
And if they would just look at their sphere of influence, I think they could just focus on that, regardless of how the demographics, monetarily, socially, whatever, and just start with them. It's almost like a church planting movement. You start with one group, it has the potential to expand to other groups and to reach other people beyond you.
Yeah.
And I think if you just get that, then they start talking, it can multiply itself without anyone even know it,
Yeah.
which is what's happened here when Sam's talking, and then it leads to some girl he doesn't even know. And when I found out, I told him about her because they come from the same country, and we're trying to backtrack how she might have heard about us. And we were able to connect the dots. It was pretty cool to see how it worked.
That was way beyond your sphere of influence. Again,
definitely.
Again, you're finding advocates of advocates of advocates, multiplying yourself, it sounds like. So if one person, for example, this guy that Pastor James was talking about, Justin Finkelstein, he retweets and reposts every single thing that I ever post. I mean, if I post something about my website or with Unreached Global, you can count on a reshare from Justin. So he's like an advocate of advocates. I think if we found a couple of people who would be willing to do that regularly, it'd be a very powerful thing. So, and then that would bring us out into spheres. Blab, Twitter hashtags, shared interests. These are definite things that are able to broaden our sphere of influence.
Yeah, and I would even say, like, when we retweet or share something on Facebook, I think if you really want to be an advocate, say something. Don't just share it.
Exactly.
In silence.
Otherwise known as social media selectivism. Well, I retweeted, therefore I've done my duty for the day. That's not what we're talking about in advocacy.
Yeah. So I think James was talking about someone liking something, but then, he mentioned his mom. She liked something, and she thought, well, what do you think of the article? And she goes, well, I didn't read it.
Yeah. There's plenty of those out there. That's social media selectivism we're talking about. But if you want to be an advocate for unreached people groups, if you want to be an advocate for those with the least reach, no access to the gospel, well, you just talk. Don't just retweet, don't just reshare, but tell a story. Storying is something we're missing here, and that could be done on blogs, in person, etc. So,
yep. And I'd say for most people, try to narrow it down to don't be so broad. Maybe try to find something and wrap your arms around it, embrace it, and really promote that. Maybe specific people group, maybe specific country.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Yeah, it's a little broad when you say unreached people groups. Narrow it down to one specific place, right? One specific. By the way, if you want to learn more about unreached people groups, I would go to joshuaproject.org for a definition of what we're talking about when you talk about unreached people groups. David, thanks for doing this blabcast. What do you mean by people group? It's funny we talk about that right as you said that. We're talking about people groups not in the sense of subgroups of cultural groups, for example, a coffee connoisseur or a computer hacker. I always use those two. I don't know why. I could use plenty of others. Valley Girl. I don't know. We're talking about ethno-linguistic tribes, people groups. They say there's 17,000 in the world today. In the Christian world, we say there's 6,600 unreached people groups. That is, they have no access to the Christian gospel. So obviously this is a Christian blab here. But that's what we mean by that. And we're talking about being advocates for those with little to no access to the Christian gospel. So hopefully that makes sense. Yeah. This might be, Steve, one of our shorter blabs. I like the topic. People groups. Yeah. That's okay. I like the topic, and I think we need to find more people who are passionate and need to be educated on what in the world a people group is, that is, so that we can be advocates for those who have never heard the gospel.
Oh, we might have someone jumping on in a few minutes if you
yeah?
want to hold off. She was on the wrong browser, so she's switching.
I see. Okay. Yeah.
So a friend of mine from Canada.
Cool. Okay. Is she on Safari?
Maybe. She just texted me and told me she was on the wrong browser.
I see. Yeah. It looks like there's 2 people viewing from your browser. If you're not signed into Blab with your Twitter account, you have to refresh, sign into Blab with your Twitter account, and you can't use Safari. We recommend Chrome, maybe Firefox. I use Opera personally. Seems to work good for me.
Yeah, if there's any questions from anyone, I know we're probably getting closer to the end, but
sure.
We're definitely open to still listening to questions. I mean, Dave and I have talked briefly about this. We're still trying to, we're always looking for new ideas of how to advocate, and specifically with these least reached or unreached people groups. We're always looking for new ways to do it.
Yeah.
And so this is, we would love to hear, even if you think you don't have, I see my brother just popped in.
Oh yeah.
And
Who's
he
that?
needs to get back to work.
No, he needs to come on our Blab. Forget about work. No, I'm just joking.
But there's always we need to figure out, like I said earlier, talking about the unreached in the church has been around for long enough.
Yeah.
Then there's not a lot of I wouldn't call it a lot of movement.
It's become,
based on what I'm seeing.
Yeah, it's like you said, it trended. David Platt wrote Radical, that brought it to the pinnacle again. Unreached people groups, he mentions it multiple times, plateaued and kind of dies off. We are very fickle when we talk about true advocacy. Here's how my advocacy started. I was traveling, this is probably 14, 15 years ago. I was living in China, been there for 17 years now, but this is, I don't know, 2002 maybe. Went to a trip to the Myanmar, China side, border side there, and I was among the Wa people, their former headhunters. I'd gone there many, many times. I love this tribe. I've always felt like every single time, though, I asked for money to support the ministry work that we were doing to reach them, that I was begging, and I was a beggar. Every single time I sent an email, every time I called, I felt like, well, they know what I'm going to ask. I'm going to ask for money. I always felt like a beggar, not an advocate. My back went out on the top of this mountain on the Myanmar, China side, and I was in excruciating pain, L5S1. I have a degenerated disc. This little Wa granny picked me up, put me in the back of a little tolaji. It's called a handheld tractor. I don't even know how to describe it to you if you've seen it. It's like a wheelbarrow with an engine. Think of it like that. Mm. She's carrying me, stroking my forehead as I go down 12 kilometers down this bumpy road, and I'm just crying, watching the bamboo go across over my head. And suddenly, as this little stranger, this granny, stroking my forehead like I'm a baby, I just sense this love for this people group, this tribe I've been going to many, many times. It's there at that moment that I felt God speak to me. You are not a beggar, you're an advocate. Since that time, every time I send an email, every time I call someone, I have no qualms about asking for money, for prayers, for support, because I know that I'm not a beggar. I am advocating for this unreached people group, former headhunting tribe, the Wa tribe. And it's been exciting ever since. I've never ran across that Wa tribal woman again, but she transformed my life. There's that moment.
Yeah, that's true, because I've struggled. The guy I was meeting with yesterday, he's a big marketing guy.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And he's a radio host here up in Charlotte. And he just, I am the kind of person, I don't like feeling like I'm promoting myself. And I think James mentioned that you kind of like you feel like you're promoting yourself. Partly because we feel like if it's our website we designed or something, it's kind of goes back to us because we're in it no matter what happens.
Well, that's a mindset there that the shifting, but you're right. It is better.
But it's true what you said. God's appointed us to be advocates in the role that we're in, but we're not the only advocates, and that's what we have to view it as.
Yes.
And Mike's question about the perspective course, and I know I'm going to throw in Kairos because Kairos course is very similar to perspectives, only shorter.
Yes.
Is it helpful to learn how to advocate? I think I don't know if it helps people learn to be advocates through perspectives. I know it helps people learn about the unreached and missions and what's going on, but I haven't personally seen, I would say, a lot of movement in ways that got people just talking about it on a regular basis. That's just me.
I think I would go the other way. The more you learn about God on mission throughout the whole Bible, it kind of gears your mind. You're put in this mental mindset to say, wow, I am part of this somehow. And Mike and I were just talking about that. Not only is every Christian part of called to be part of the Great Commission, when we learn of God's mind behind that, it shifts our mindset and thinking, and then something I have to do, right? So I don't know. I think perspectives, Kairos does kind of really inspire.
No, I'm not saying that it can't. I was
hoping to get $5 from Lively Debate.
Yeah, where is he? Anyways, I wasn't looking at it from that perspective. I was thinking of what actually comes out of it. Not in the sense of what it can actually do.
I see. Sure. Yeah, it's not necessarily intentional about creating advocates, but I think people can be drawn to that advocacy.
It has potential, yes.
And hopefully that being drawn to become an advocate for unreached people groups is not them ditching their actual mission. God is actually calling them to field, but they say, well, I'll just be an advocate, mobilizer instead. Sometimes that happens. I like what Mike said. Again, in order to advocate, you need to know what is happening among the unreached people groups. I think, again, getting on missions blogs, go to silkroadcatalyst.com, withinreachglobal.org. The more you see God on mission, I think, the more you're going to realize you have a part to play. That does not mean you're called to move overseas forever. Thank God. I don't want to have to deal with everybody going overseas cross-culturally, having culture shock. But we each have a unique place to play. Let's see. Jesus never said, WPC guy says, Jesus never said everyone in the world would be reached with the gospel, did he? IOW, do you know that many of the world's 7 billion will never be reached with the gospel message? Is that right? Matthew 24:14, for me, that kind of sums up this whole thought. This gospel of the kingdom will be preached in all the world as a testimony to all nations. Nations does not mean countries here. It means ethno-linguistic tribes or people groups. And then the end will come. To me, it seems God has put himself, is waiting for us to join him in this epic narrative of reaching the world for Christ. And until every single ethnic people group will be represented there in Revelation 7:9, we are called to go to those who are unreached. So I understand 7 billion people. They're not everyone's going to get saved. Not everyone's going to make a decision to follow Christ. That's an obvious, but I do believe we need to bring access and to people who have never heard before. And that's our passion at Silk Road Catalyst and within Reach Global. You still there? Yeah. Okay. So, there's a lot of stuff coming up.
I was reading Q there and what she was saying.
Yeah.
I was hoping she'd
jump
in with us. So I won't give her name out unless she doesn't
other
want
tools
it.
to help people know what is happening among unreached people groups. I would say joshuaproject.org heavily. Obviously, each of our websites, Steve and mine, you got Issachar Initiative, Google the 1040 window. There's a billion sources out there. if you take the time to learn about what God is doing among Unreached, be exciting.
Traveling team. Have you heard of them?
.org, I think, or .com. I'm not sure.
Yeah, Traveling Team is very good. They're not a mission sending agency, but they do a lot of advocacy as an organization, and they have seminars and lessons they can do. Their main focus is working with college students and educating them about missions, but they have a lot of resources that are free and available on their website to look at. I need to look up their website. I don't know if you know it off the top of your head.
But to get back to this WPC guy, if you want to jump in, feel free. I wouldn't say this is so much of a debate thing. To say, do you not believe what Jesus said is kind of something silly to ask in this particular blab. There might be other better debating blabs out there. Of course, I believe what Jesus said. But I would say this. I sat right in front of him. Pastor Samuel Lamb, been in prison for 21 years of his life. When you're talking about persecution and then the gospel being proclaimed, he said, more persecution, more growth. That is the history of the church. We are in settings that we've seen and received different heavy persecution. I think it's a powerful way for the gospel to spread specifically to those who have not yet heard. So appreciate your thoughts. Having internet problems. Well, Steve, it looks like Q there. Is that your friend? Aquina. Okay, cool.
Yeah, Aquina.
I see. Go check out.
She's having the same problem.
My battery is just about to die on my computer. And I do think there's a lot of good resources and links up here. And again, we're talking about being an advocate for unreached people groups because we believe that it's kind of horrific that not everyone has had a chance to hear the gospel of Jesus in the 21st century. Joshua Project, that is a great one. It's up there on the link. So, Steve, if I get cut off any second here because my computer's about to die, I'll let you close this out. But I think it's been a pretty good conversation with some decent engagement.
Yeah, so just want to remind you guys on Monday, our blab should be very interesting. Indigenous versus foreign missionaries. Yeah. Which one's more effective? Which ones are better than the other? And so there's a lot of opinions out there on this, so we're hoping to have some good engagement on it. So we hope you guys will come and join us in on that one. And hopefully we'll have some people from, I don't know, if we can work it out to get some people from a non-Western perspective, that would be good too. So if you have friends in that realm, who obviously speak English, because that would be good for the audience. Please invite them to come and join in with us.
Well, Steve, it's been good, man. I'm looking forward to Monday. Or actually, Monday, right? Good.
Yeah, Monday.
It's on there on the link you just sent.
Let me look.
But my computer is about to die at any second. So God bless you, man. Praying that you find more and more advocates that would speak out for Silk Road Catalyst and all that you're doing in China.
Thank you. You too. And thank you guys for joining us.
You're welcome, and appreciate your thoughts. And we'll catch you soon. Blessings.